Allison. I'm the Programs Outreach and Youth Services Manager here at Monterey County Free Libraries. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of Backyard Science. As you can see, today we are not actually outside. It's pretty cold and kind of drizzly, so we're going to be doing this one inside, but that's okay because today we are going to be talking about pumpkins, and I actually have my pumpkins inside. So I thought pumpkins would be a great thing to talk about right now because many of you are probably getting pumpkins for your Halloween decorations or to carve into jack-o'-lanterns, and then some of you might be getting pumpkins into November, again for decoration, or even for baking and for eating. So we are going to learn some pumpkin facts today. I'm going to show you a few different kinds of pumpkins that I have, and then we're going to cut into one and look at the inside. First, our pumpkin facts. While we think of pumpkins as something that is so hand in hand with the fall, the process of growing pumpkins actually starts much earlier in the year, in the spring, when farmers plant pumpkin seeds. Yes, those tiny little seeds that you find inside the pumpkin and that you might like to eat grow into something like this or even bigger. So farmers plant pumpkin seeds in the spring, and about 10 to 14 days after the seed is planted, you'll start to see some action up at the top of the surface of the soil. You'll start to see some stem growing out and then some leaves growing out. The first leaves that come out are called seed leaves, and these help to get the plant started before the plant starts to grow its bigger leaves, which help the plant to get food. Pumpkins grow on a vine, much like a squash or a zucchini or a cucumber that you might be familiar with in your gardens. And I always find that so interesting because I think we're all just so used to seeing the final product, we forget that they are grown just like any other plant. So they grow on vines, and just like a squash, they produce a blossom that helps to pollinate the plant. So after it has started to develop, it's grown some vines, it has its leaves, it'll grow these bright yellow flowers which attract bees to pollinate the plant, which is how the plant actually produces the pumpkin itself. Pumpkins start to ripen in the summer, and into the fall is when they are ready, and they go from green to yellow to the orange that you are familiar with. Now that's just for one type of pumpkin. There are many different types of pumpkins, and they can be many different colors. And I'm going to show you some of the different ones that I purchased when I went to a pumpkin patch this past weekend. So let's take a look at some pumpkins. I've been flashing this one around. My mom actually grew this one in her garden. She lives a little further up north, and as I've mentioned in previous videos, she's very good at growing things, and you even got a look at her garden in one of my past videos. So you can see here, this is where the pumpkin was attached to the vine. This is where it was pulled off at the stem, and you can see this is a really nicely developed pumpkin, big as my head. So this is a really good size, and I'm going to show you some other pumpkins that I got this weekend. I am using all of these pumpkins as part of my Halloween display on my mantle, so you'll see some of my decorations. But we got this pumpkin here, which you can see as comparison to my hand, just how big it is. And this one was really cool because it has all these warts in different colors. And I'm not sure what causes these different warts, or if this is a different variety of pumpkin, or what the deal is here, but that would be something really cool to follow up on and research more. But you can see it still has some of the features of our more traditional pumpkin that we looked at. It has the stem, it's orange overall, and it's nice and round. This pumpkin, on the other hand, is a lot different than any pumpkin I've ever really seen. And this one was picked out by my boyfriend. He liked the really cool color that it is, kind of this grayish green. And it's really big. You can see by my hand just how big it is. This was the most expensive one we bought because it weighed the most. So I'd be really interested to see what the inside of that one looked like, but we're not going to cut that one open today. You can see that it still has the stem because it still grew on a vine. It's not the same color that we're used to from a pumpkin, and instead of being so rounded, it's kind of divided more into these little segments, and it's a little bit more boxy. So that's kind of interesting to note. We also got more of these traditional type looking pumpkins They're much smaller, as you can see. I can hold them in my hand. And this is actually the one that we will be cutting into today to look at the inside. And then lastly, we got these really cool small pumpkins. And I was really interested in these because they were so cute and small, but they had all these green dots on them. And I actually asked one of the boys who was working the farm stand why they had the dots, but he didn't know. Again, though, you can see these have the stems because they grow on the vine. Here's another one. This is even more different. It's kind of a little bit more of a yellow orange with more green streaks. And then very lastly, we have this, which is more green with orange peeking through. This one doesn't have its stem still attached, but you can see where the stem once was. I'm in my kitchen now, and we are going to cut into this pumpkin that I purchased with the sole intent of using on this video. So I'm going to cut into it in a way that I can later carve it into a jack-o'-lantern if I want, so that it doesn't totally go to waste. But if you get pumpkins during the fall, make sure that when you're done with them that you put them into the compost if you have a compost, or into your green bin, or if you live in a pretty rural area, you can just leave them outside and the squirrels will come and eat them and they'll decompose into the ground. So let's get started cutting. Okay, I always get a little nervous when I'm cutting a pumpkin, and because I am going to be using a knife, and you have to use a pretty sharp knife when you are cutting into a pumpkin. They're very hard on the outside and they can be very thick and fibrous. So make sure that you have an adult helping you if you want to cut into a pumpkin or carve a jack-o'-lantern. I am an adult, so I am going to be using the knife, and I'm going to be very careful while I'm doing so. Now that first cut that I did, it was very thick at first, and then once I got past that layer, the knife went in really easily. And that's because the outer layer is very thick, but the inside can be almost hollow where the pumpkin guts are and all the seeds. So I brought out a bowl so that we can put some of our pumpkin guts in. I've cut all the way around my stem, and I'm just gonna wiggle it. And we can see, oh, look at the guts. So this is the inside of a pumpkin. This is where all the seeds are. If you were interested in planting a pumpkin, you would collect these seeds and you could plant them outside. I'm going to roast them. So what you can do if you want to eat the pumpkin seeds is, with the help of an adult, you'll just collect all the seeds from the inside of your pumpkin, and then you will put them with some olive oil and a little bit of whatever seasoning you like. So salt, pepper, maybe some garlic powder, something spicy, whatever you're in the mood for, and you'll stick them in the oven to roast them. So this is what the top looks like, and here's a look at the inside. So you can see that there was kind of this thick outer layer, and then it went into the middle where it's almost hollow, and that's why my knife could go in easily once I got past a certain point. So I'm gonna get a spoon and start scooping out some of these guts. The guts are pretty soft and easy to get out. I'm sure there's a more technical name than guts, but it is Halloween, so we'll go with guts. This one has a lot of seeds for such a small little pumpkin. And there is definitely a particular smell to carving a pumpkin. I'm not quite sure how I would describe it, but there is a smell. It's not bad, it's just kind of earthy and vegetable-like. So now you can look inside. It's pretty hollow. There's still a seed or two in there. And we can get a closer look at our guts. There's some of the fibrous material from the pumpkin, but look at all these seeds. I wonder how many are in here. So that's what the inside of a pumpkin looks like. And most of you have probably seen that if you've done a jack-o'-lantern on Halloween. I'm going to finish carving this into a jack-o'-lantern, and I'll come back and show you before we say goodbye for the end of this video. So here is my little jack-o'-lantern. He's got kind of a crooked mouth. I'm not so great at carving. This is my little jack-o'-lantern, and I wanted to share a little bit of the history of jack-o'-lanterns. So jack-o'-lanterns actually started in Ireland, and in Ireland they would use turnips and potatoes to carve into. And then when Irish people started immigrating to America, they brought the tradition with them where pumpkins were more abundant, and they started using pumpkins to carve jack-o'-lanterns. So that's something that you'll see a lot of at Halloween. And actually, we will be having a pumpkin decorating contest on our social media channels. So make sure you check out Facebook and Instagram for the pumpkin decorating contest and your chance to win a prize. That is it for our pumpkin video. For my information from this video, I got most of it from this book, From Seed to Pumpkin by Wendy Pfeiffer. And I also got information from this book, Pumpkins by Ken Robbins. Both of these titles are available in our collection, along with many other books about fruits, vegetables, farming, and of course, pumpkins and Halloween. I hope that you had a great time learning about pumpkins today, and I hope that you'll have a very nice, safe, and happy Halloween. Bye-bye, everyone.